Hi everyone, it's Fleur or Fleur Ivory Grace. This is my first upload to YouTube and I just wanted to make this video an introduction to me and my channel and basically what I'm going to be doing here on YouTube and a bit about myself personally. So I'll start off with me. I live currently in a really small town in rural Canada. I grew up in this town, so obviously the religious options and the spiritual options really were not very broad. You were either Catholic, Anglican, or you went to the United Church. A mixed marriage was a Catholic and a Protestant getting married. Um, so we were all Caucasian and all Christian, more or less. My parents didn't grow up in this area, but they also came from smaller towns. My mom grew up Anglican, and my dad grew up going to the United Church. Um, I was raised Christian, but I was never like super Christian or like my parents were Bible thumpers. I don't like that term, but I really don't know. I don't know. They weren't super religious. And pretty much our belief and our religion and our practices consisted of saying grace and going to church on Christmas Eve or whenever mom and dad felt that we needed to repent for our sins. That's when we went to church, so it wasn't very often. Um, but yeah, grew up fairly normally. We were although not very religious, very spiritual family. My mom always encouraged us if we had a problem to go and just kind of reflect and talk to God. And yeah, she just encouraged us to be outside in nature and be able to communicate with the things around us. So she was obviously, when it came to me becoming like pagan and Wiccan, um, she was very open to that. And my dad is very open to it also. I was very artistic as a kid. I always questioned everything. When I did go to church, I didn't, it's not that I didn't like it, it's just I don't even know what it was because I was so young that it just didn't make sense to me. And I remember going to a Bible, not Bible school, Bible, like, camp, um, and them talking about how religion made more sense than science, how God creating the earth and the world made more sense than, a scientific theory on how the world came to exist. And that just, to me, didn't make too much sense. Like, I was like, well, they have, like, evidence or, like, lots of proof that, you know, all these things happen for a reason because of some reaction with this, and people saying like, oh no, it's God. That was just kind of weird to me. Not that I don't believe in that aspect of it. It's just that didn't really make too much sense, especially to a 12-year-old when you kind of want to be all rational and grown up. At least I did. I don't know. Anyways, so a couple years ago, I was talking with some friends and we were talking about psychic phenomenon, and we're talking about things like precognition. We're talking about like dreaming and astral projection and thought projection and out of body experiences. And we all came to kind of realize that when we were younger and growing up, we had a lot of these experiences. I never really had any like precognitive dreams or memories or visions or anything like that, but I definitely experienced astral projection or out of body experiences, which at the time I had no idea what they were. But I did experience that a lot, and I always was empathetic. I wouldn't say now that I'm an empath to say, but I am very in tune to vibrations and just kind of, I don't know if that's after coming on my path, just my awareness, but overall I have been, like my whole life I've been very aware of what people were feeling, but I would not classify myself as an empath. But that's just me personally. I don't like to say that I have any like special, like supernatural or like magical powers or anything like that, even though they're psychological powers, but regardless. So I started talking about that, and we started talking about religion and how all of us we didn't really fit in with Christianity, or that just wasn't our path. I never connected to the reason, and I never understood why God had to be a male. I asked my Sunday school teachers when I was young, I remember this really clearly, and asking them why God couldn't be a female, why God wasn't female, why he had to be a boy. And they had no answer for that. God, like, man created earth and man created women, or God created man and man created women, and some like BSery that just did not make sense to me when I was 8 years old, and nor should it. So I would go to church occasionally. We didn't really go to church that much, but when we did go to church, and my parents made me sit through the entire service, which they would upon occasion, and I just remember sitting there and internally just screaming like, oh my gosh, why, like, I don't understand anything that's happening. Not that I just don't believe it, I just don't get it. And I don't get how this makes sense to people. And the stories of the Bible can be like really, really like graphic and, not necessarily appropriate for children. And I didn't understand any of it. I just remember, screaming internally, like every bad thing that, like, because I was always taught that it was bad to swear. And so I always, would just kind of scream in my mind every swear word that I could think of, because I didn't get it. Like, I was just so angry that, like, I just didn't understand. And I wanted to know why things were. I wanted to know how we were here. I wanted to know if there's a higher power. I wanted to know all of this. And I started to question it all in about 6th grade, I would say, because that's when we did astronomy in science class, and I did like if aliens existed on other planets. And I remember talking to my dad one day, and I was like, I don't think I believe in God. Like, I don't think, or not that I didn't believe in God, but I don't think God created the world, like the earth. And I think, like, there is God, there is a higher power, but I don't think that he created the earth. And so I just kind of started just going, not against, but that's when I really started to think for myself and develop my own beliefs. So that's when I kind of started not following, the beaten path. So about 2 years ago, I was talking with some friends, and we started getting into religion, and I started researching Wicca and witchcraft, because I was really into. I'm trying to talk loud so you can't hear my dogs barking. But we started getting into Wicca and witchcraft. So I started getting into Wicca and witchcraft, and I was reading about it. And even the first day, I remember reading about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so me. The balance of, like, men and women and the elements, and how everything's, like, connected, and the symbolism in it, and, the tradition in it. And I'd grown up watching Charmed and Sabrina, and so that was totally just kind of hit home with me. And at first, I think what I was attracted to was, the allure and the mystery of magic. And it kind of, to a 15-year-old girl, magic, and I grew up, I read Twilight and Harry Potter and all those books, and so magical things were sexy, and when you're 15 and you want a boyfriend, you want to be sexy. So I thought, it was kind of cool that I'd start doing some of this stuff. But when I did actual research, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so me, this is so awesome. And so December 21st of 2009 is when I decided to become a practicing witch, and that's when I started my path, my, like, what I call my real path on, in witchcraft and paganism. And at the time, I didn't even know that the day that I decided to become a practicing witch was actually, in fact, a Wiccan Sabbath, Yule. And that's all about, and Yule's all about, like, the death and rebirth of the sun, and, new beginning, kind of, new beginnings, and the hope that the sun will return, and the sun returning, and the God coming back, and the goddess giving birth to the God. And just looking back, the symbolism is just so profound. So yeah. Ever since then, I've been practicing. I used to say that I was Wiccan. That's kind of what I started out in, but now, if anybody were to, and nobody's ever asked me what religion I am, but if anybody were to ask me, I think I would say, well, theoretically, I would say I'm pagan. I might not. I might be like, oh, Nothing, because telling someone you're a pagan, telling someone you're a witch is something that I haven't had to really deal with, so it could be kind of awkward. But theoretically, I would tell them that I'm pagan because I've broadened my views and gone through so many spiritual transformations and been on a real journey since then. So, yeah, I don't want to define myself as just Wiccan. Pagan just sounds like more broad and generalized and makes me seem more spiritual and open-minded. Maybe. Anyway, so that is my path. Yeah. And I think just ever since becoming a pagan, I've just been able to open my mind more, and I feel like I've been a much more creative. Like I've always been creative, but even like just when I open myself up now, it's just creativity flows, and I really, really I have to thank my spiritual path for that. Um, so yeah, the reason I want to start this channel is um, because when I was starting out in Wicca and witchcraft, I had no idea like what to do. I was just kind of shooting in the dark. I didn't really know what to do. And I didn't realize that there were videos on YouTube and all this kind of stuff to, help me and guide me. I didn't know any other, like there's my two friends and I'm only friends with one of them now, and we were both like a virgin, like we had no idea what we were doing. And nobody else. Like we live in such a small town, and even if people were witches or pagans or Wiccans, they wouldn't, express that openly because we do live in such a judgmental like area, I think, just cuz small towns. Wherever you go, small towns are small towns. Um, so we didn't really know what to do. So I personally want to not guide, not teach per se, but just kind of educate people in my personal beliefs. And I think it's just a really good idea to be able to make that accessible to young people and even people who are older. But I didn't have any money for like to buy books or anything like that. I didn't have any money to go places or to buy anything. And so I had to make a lot of my stuff. A lot of the stuff on my altar and a lot of the stuff that I use in my practices I've made myself. And so I will obviously be sharing that a bit on my channel too. So that's basically what I'm doing here on YouTube and what I am all about. So yeah, you can definitely be looking for more videos from me. Anyways, that's all for now. Um, I look forward to making more videos, even if I have two people watch them. So this seems really stupid. This seems really, really fake to do, so I'm not going to do it. Blessed be. Merry meet, merry part, till merry we meet again.